maybe you're feeling just generally confused, frustrated, disempowered, feeling like you've got no control over your circumstances. Maybe you're anxious about the potential futures because of the trajectory in which you're currently on. You might be in a place where you're like, I might lose my job. I might lose my home. I might lose my friends. I might lose my reputation. I might lose part of me. I might lose my identity. There's many things that we might be feeling, all of which are a form of suffering in some level. So this is for those that are suffering on some level. And we can't get specific because we're not dealing with anything specific. I'm generally expressing how to recognize solutions that are always there for us. How to recognize the formulas, the laws that will protect us and keep us operating and navigating through this reality, through this game, through life, in a way that best serves us. And a good segue would be to talk about empowerment, to go into that a little bit. And that's really what I want to talk about here, empowerment. And how I can describe empowerment is to highlight the disempowerment that happens. As I started this video, confused, fearful, anger, anything that's a negative feeling that at some form we all feel. It's what we're supposed to feel. And it's the feedback for us to look at what's making us feel like that, what we're projecting, what idea we have, and let go of it. Step away from it. See it as glass that shatters the moment you step into the truth of the moment and live in the presence of the true nature that we really are. And disempowerment is everywhere. Disempowerment floods the globe because of the information that is provided. But most importantly, the information that's not provided. We're not provided or educated or informed with the necessary literature, resource there really is on the parts of ourself that we should be learning from the youngest age possible. We really should be learning how to, just did a video on how to set boundaries. We really should be learning about our rights, our true unalienable rights that come from us from birth. We should understand if we are operating in this system, then it's in our best interest that we understand how it operates. If we don't know the real answers to those questions, then we're going to feel disempowered, we're going to feel lost, we're going to feel confused. Again, leads to the same trains of thought that might be, what if I lose my job? What if I lose my income? What if I lose fear, anxiety? The feelings are the most important thing. The content of what the mind is focused on, that's conjuring the feeling. The content is it's at least secondary. It's not the most important thing to the feeling. And the feeling is the truth of where we're at. And it's disempowering to feel that. And I'm talking about people that feel this day in, day out in their life, and this is constant, rather than people that experience this sporadically as a part of life as well it is. And also experience it on a level that creates an intense amount of suffering, whether you understand that or not, whether you scale that like we tend to do. We scale it and compare our pain and suffering to levels of other people, when really other people are unimportant and irrelevant when we're talking about our own feelings and ourselves. So the starting point would be to get a connection and a relationship with ourselves beyond just the idea of who we are. Even if that's a segue into forgetting your personality and recognizing your body is the thing that's carrying you throughout this universe. So we best learn to start there. Love the body. love my hands, my fingers. I'm grateful for my arms and my legs and my heart and my organs and my mind. I'm grateful for it all. That already alleviates a tremendous amount of pain and suffering and puts us in a position where we're in a state of gratitude, which feels a lot better. That provides us energy. And when we have energy and when we have space, we can start to tackle issues. We can start to find solutions to problems that are coming up. When that energy comes in, we can apply it. And what we apply it to is totally down to us. But in this case, we're talking about empowerment. Disempowerment seems to me to come from a place of poor knowledge, to be uninformed, to not have the inner standing of a subject. How can someone take your house away? How can you lose your jobs? What really are your rights? These basic questions. So the answer is to become empowered through knowledge and information, to really recognize it. When we talk about applying it, embodying it, and living it, that's different. There's many people that have a lot of knowledge. This is where most people tend to manifest in this reality. They have a hell of a lot of knowledge, but it comes from just resource and literature and wherever it's come from. And without an inner self, and without an understanding of our inner self and how we decode information, we are in the firing line to be manipulated. We are in the zone of where we can get conflicted information, get even further confused, and we can feel even further down the line of disempowerment. So empowerment comes with two categories, two elements, two layers. The first is just the initial level of self-awareness. What is self-awareness? What are we? Well, we need to really have experiences to understand this, because it can't be described. But it's recognizing what we're not more than what we are. We are not our names, our identities, what we wear. We're not any of this. We are something far greater than that. We are connected to a invisible, non-physical system, as we are atoms. Everything's made up of atoms. That's why it's our anatomy. And our anatomy, our body, is really just empty frequency. An atom is empty. So the frequency is us. And we're just holograms and projections of the physical because of electromagnetic fields. It feels solid, but really it's like when you repel magnets, it pushes away. There's a form of magnetic resistance. It's not solid. In here it's empty and it's vibrational. The only illusion of solidity comes from the feeling and the experience of the pushback, and our understanding or inner standing of that dictates our concept and relationship with reality. And when we understand this is all non-physical, the same way Wi-Fi is everywhere but we can't see it, it's non-physical. We see these things, but it's just a decoded version of reality. Really what I am is energy. It's a frequency. You can take any object, zoom in close enough, you'll see it moving. We are vibrations and frequencies, which is why we get communicated to in feelings and emotion. An energy in motion. It's a trapped, stored level of energy that's starting to move in some form. Emotion can come out in any emotional way, but it's energy in motion. We can start to understand ourselves as, we're energetical beings, so everything I really feel is a form of energy. That base foundation level of understanding self puts you into a zone of presence when you can connect out the mind and you can connect to the room, the environment you're in, the body you're in, and you are really just assigned into the reality. Currently, the truth of my reality is, I am sat here in this room, on this bag, with nothing around me, in this empty room, and I am just expressing from my heart. I'm speaking what feels true to me. Now, I could be sat in this room in my mind, and I could be anywhere. That creates anxiety. I am calm, I am composed, I am at peace, because that's exactly where I am right now. I'm in this room, I recognize the reality that I'm actually connected to. If I'm feeling stressed, if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling anything in some form that's a level of suffering, it's because I'm operating up here in my mind. And my mind can be anywhere. It can be worried, could be concerned, could be anxious. It could be all the things that trigger the feelings that the majority of us feel, but a large percentage of people suffer with every day. Once we understand the foundational makeup of what we are and how to place our awareness in different areas away from the mind, into the body, into the room, we start to experience truthful reality for what it is, rather than the illusional reality of our mind. And when we get to that stage, we can start living differently, living with less attachment to what we think. Whether that's an idea, an opinion, a belief, we're less attached to it because we're living more truthfully. That foundation takes time and experience to truly understand, and it can't be described. There's nothing my words can really do to justify what this really is, but there's many experiences that I can provide, especially a direct conversation is a starting point, that I can provide experience for people to understand that a little bit more. And it's a shattering of an ego, which is an identity, which is an idea. And if we're living for the ideas, it's going to be a stressful place to live, and we're going to experience a lot of suffering. Rather than living in the reality of the truth, we're liberated when we shatter those egos, when we shatter those ideas that no longer serve us, and it is causing suffering. Once you're at that stage where you feel like you can embody that level of knowledge, empowerment is already there, because no one can tell us anything that we won't be able to discern, decode, and truly be able to figure out whether it's real or not, because we understand truth. That's empowering. But what further takes us into empowerment is the knowledge that we have and the information that we have been exposed to. It's probably fair to say that most people that are in a level of suffering about those examples, again, I might lose my job, I might lose my house. Oh, what if this person leaves me? What if someone judges me? If I put this up, someone might say that this disempowering level of living isn't serving to the human spirit or the psyche, and it's a result of something I won't go into now, but it's a result of the culture, the system, the society we've been brought into, that's intentionally, through its design, has been intentionally designed to pull us away from our soul, our heart, our feelings, our true innate nature. And what it does, it's got us to live and operate strictly in the mind, and the mind absorbs information. And the information that most people operate under, the idea that they have of the world, has come from, when you chase it down the rabbit hole, has come from very few people that aren't the same as compassionate, empathetic beings. They're almost like animals that don't have any mercy towards human beings. And they have ingeniously, through the mastering of the mind, provided such a strong system that's governed by unconsciousness that manifests in all these different forms. But the point and the key there is unconsciousness. Not only just unconscious of why we think what we think, why we believe, not really understanding anything, being in a state of unconsciousness, but the stuff that we do say, the stuff that we do believe, the stuff that we do think is more often than not, if not all the time, not real, illusory, and fake. The only true way we can really become empowered and step into our true nature is when we live it and we have our own experiences. But what helps and what is a massive support is when we're surrounded by the information that is accessible. It is there. You can read many books, you can look in plain sight at the allegorical nature of what the Bible is, of what the Egyptians were talking about, of the symbolism we see out in the world. The symbolism is another form of language that speaks to the subconscious. But truly, it all really reveals the nature of what we are, not just us, what this earth is, what the stars are, how the makeup of our reality actually works. Understanding our, as I discussed at the start, our energetical nature, so our 7 main chakras, our wheels of energy that get trapped energy in certain places that correlate and synchronize to certain emotions, i.e. you can feel fear, guilt, shame, delusion, attachment. You can feel all these things and they will manifest in your life in all different ways of suffering. And it's an imbalance of energy. And when we learn to rebalance that energy through proper information, we become so empowered. We become empowered beyond a level, literally, beyond a level of perception, beyond a level of what anyone can possibly imagine. Because we can't imagine a feeling we haven't experienced. And when we start to experience this empowerment and recognize the change in the reality that happens around us, we've alchemized our own reality. We are the creators of it. It is what you make it. Don't get caught up in the matrix. The information is there. The information I've made available in Discord groups, in Telegram groups, and their references, their links, their starting points to fundamentals like what your straw man is. And a straw man being that title that goes on your identification cards. It goes on your mail that arrives at your house. That title that's attached to certain laws that are only enforceable through our consent. When we recognize we're not that title, and what that title really is, it's a dead entity, which really is a corporation, hence corpse. This dead entity that's created at our birth has been created so we can be the people that are signing ourselves up. Yep, that's me, that's my name, because we were never empowered with the true information of what we really are. So we assign ourselves to our name because that's what we've been told. We've been told a lot of information that has disempowered us. This is where we take back the empowerment. We recognize that name we've been told and we've gone, yep, that's me. In my case, it's, I'm Charlie Walker. And then when we get to the reality of what it really is, we can go, that's not who I am. So what is that? What that really is just a title. It's a fictitious entity of a dead entity, which is why it's a corporation, which is essentially a company that was created at birth for us to operate under maritime law, which is law of the sea, which none of us are on, but they can enforce any rules, any guidelines, any acts, any statutes that they like. That's a very disempowering place to be, to believe that you are your title. Because if you're following the reality of that title, you are governed by the maritime and tyrannical system that is there to take your energy. It's there to take your labor. You are a slave if you're attached to that. We all are. In some form, we've become slaves. And the empowerment happens when we recognize, I'm not a slave. What I truly am is a living entity of flesh and blood. I am a sovereign being. I'm that baby that was born with the screaming sounds and the tears and the dirty nappies. I'm not the title. I'm living. I'm the same as the birds. I'm the same as the the foxes. I'm the same as the polar bears. I'm the same as nature. That's what we are, nature. When we recognize that, and then we start to open our mind to allow this information to come in, to empower us of our true rights, our true nature, two things happen. One, we become empowered for obvious reasons. It's very empowering to recognize our rights. It's very empowering to disconnect from all the stress and suffering that comes from being trapped into thinking you are your name and your identity and you have to do these things. It's very liberating. It's an amazing feeling to recognize you're a sovereign being, which means no one, zero person, people, government, company, no one has authority higher than you of yourself, your body, your flesh and blood. No one has power over you. You are your sovereign being. That's in the universal law. We don't need someone that's corrupt, that's manipulated, that's unconscious to tell us rules and guidelines of what we are. No, nature's already done that. We're sovereign beings. We're free to do what we want to do. No one can really take away our freedoms. No one can take away our rights, but they can make our life very inconvenient. They can make our life a playground for resistance, where we are having to deal with the resistance of all the stuff that gets in the way of us actually just expressing ourselves how we want to. And that's really kept into place through social conformity, but not to go into that. It's empowering to recognize that when you get to a sovereign level, a level of sovereignty, and you can embody that and you understand the language, you can speak it, you recognize what your straw man is. It's also further empowering when you recognize that any supposed debt, any level of authority you think over you, police, bailiffs, teachers, doctors, nurses, anyone in that system, no one can tell you what to do if you do not consent to it. No one. Zero people. If you do not consent to it, it can't be enforced. However, if you do consent to it, then you have to honour your consent even, and this is where it gets quite sinister and sketchy, even if you are unconscious of it, meaning you are unknowing of it. You had no recollection or no knowledge that you was creating joinder, which is a verbal level of contract of assigning yourself to your name when a police asks you for your name and your details. That's joinder if you give it to them. It's sneaky. The system is set up, so this leads me on to my second point. When you understand the truth of what we are, and you get to the point of sovereignty, and you start to learn the obviousness, because there's no speculation, this isn't conspiracy. We all have a birth certificate. Go and look at it. You can go and check the bonds and the millions that's been traded off your name and your corporation from birth. You can go and check all this out. It's all public information. It's all accessible. And it just takes time plus energy to go and have the experiences to see it for yourself. You have to go and experience it for yourself. And you'll learn that everything the system does, everything that you've been accustomed to, is kind of inverted, kind of backwards. Yeah. Because our true nature is the opposite to what's happening. Our true nature is to become empowerment, to feel enlightened, to be full of light, to live healthy, to live clean, to live connected to Mother Nature, connected to the earth, and we'll be rewarded as a result of that. If we don't have, as we've been taken, and how this has been going on for thousands of years, we've been taken down this route where we've been cattled into farm animals to use our slave labour, our sweat equity, to pay for anything in a system where there's no real tangible money anymore. There's no real tangible value to anything that we purchase and buy. Every single mortgage in the UK, or pretty much globally, is fraudulent. Every single contract based off your name and your title is fraudulent. Everyone convincing you of any authority, any company, any person convincing you that this is what you need to do, you have to pay this, you have to do this, is criminally coercing you into fraud. These fundamental understandings make it very clear that the system is set up to disempower us. It's intentional. It's been planned. It's been planned by people that understand our true nature, want to disconnect us from it by pumping fluoride through our water systems, by feeding us the poison that they feed us, by injecting us with whatever poison they want to inject us with, by feeding us the information of our culture through the TV, through media, through music, through every possible imaginable industry. It's come and governed by the same people that are looking to influence the human psyche in a very specific way, and that's to disempower them and disconnect them from their true spirit. And what the intention is to have a load of sheep-like unconscious people that build the empire that these people understand. It gets built for by the people, and the people are building their own cages to their enslavement. We've been doing that for centuries. It's been going on for so long, and now we're at this point. We're in a very, very, very powerful time in history where a new earth is here, and this information is accessible to everyone that's willing to put the time and energy in to get the results. We are destined to be empowered for those that are willing to walk the walk. Those that are not, there's an infinite amount of outcomes and pain and suffering for them, but the point is they will live unconsciously and travel this world unconsciously through their projection that's been put there by other entities and forces, surrounded by an entire community of people that do the same thing. There's an intensity to it, because it's everywhere. Every angle you could possibly imagine, there's been suppression. It's been hidden from us. What we need to best understand this is isolation. We need isolation. We need to be on our own. We can't be exposed to any information. We need to be with ourselves. That will teach us. Experience is the best teacher. That will teach us about our true nature and who we really are and what we need to let go of. Our vessel, which includes everything here, our mind, our body, the health of our vessel. Without health, the ability to connect to our non-physical world, our spiritual, ultimate, connective, collective consciousness, we need to be healthy and clean. This isn't about having a six-pack or looking good on the beach. This is about clean eating for consciousness. Not having certain poison and toxins running through your body, which we are all in some form addicted to because they've been designed to be addicted. We're living in a very well orchestrated and designed system that pulls us away from all of our innate abilities and pushes us towards all the things that cause us deep suffering and convince us that the things that cause us the suffering are the answers to the suffering. You need the car to be happy. You need the house to be happy. You need the fancy clothes to get status in your social groups. You need any single outcome of an external seeking for validation or happiness or a feeling leads us down a dark, dark path of disconnect and ultimately feeling even more empty, even more in pain, even more in a level of suffering. So what we need to do is clean the body up, learn to fast, learn to start to drink really clean sources of water, take away the key elements that are in most people's houses, the main items, toothpaste. Start to look at fluoride, really get fluoride out of your system. Start to remove any pesticides and stuff that you can in your food. Don't get stressed that you can't do it all at once. The transition takes as long as it takes. We need to recognize the subliminal influence of information and industry, of music, of celebrity endorsement, of every single thing that comes through our five sense reality. We need to govern. Even when you look at the word, it's all in plain sight. The word of government is govern mind. Ment is mind. Govern mind. I don't need a government because I have connection to my own mind, and I was born with the birthrights of choice. And that choice is for me to make with my awareness of where my information comes from. That's my birthright and my sovereign birthright that empowers me and makes me untouchable. That's not to say I might not get harassed. That's not to say that I might not. The point is the unconsciousness can manifest in any way. And you can be in a position of conflict with someone that doesn't understand this. And it won't change them if you tell this to them, because they're unconscious and unaware in their actions, and they will perform whatever they need to perform that their ego is telling them they need to do to enforce their idea of reality. That's a danger. That's a disease. It's a real danger to our society, real danger to our species. That unconsciousness is in everyone, so no one truly knows what they're doing. Once we step out of that, the answers arrive to us. The answers come as a result of consciousness and a connection. All the healthy eating, all the living, all the movement like yoga, all the types of things that we want to be around like plants and wildlife, and all the things that get us into harmony again, get us connected to spirit, come naturally when we're connected. It answers itself. So all we really need to do is show up, is to feed it, and not feed the ego, not feed the identity self, not feed the fear or the anxiety. We need to take back ownership and responsibility to get that sovereignty. And empowerment is just a result of that. It's a feeling, it's an awareness, it's an ability. And the empowerment that you will feel is an antidote to what you can see the majority of people suffer with. It's the antidote. Really, the suffering comes from the mind. And the mind, without an awareness or a control of how to utilize it and how its genuine nature can work against us, we're going to be unconsciously connected and in a level of suffering. So once we step out of that, we can see it in plain sight everywhere around us as how everyone operates. And when you ask people questions as to why they believe what they believe, or why they have acted how they've acted, and they cannot give you an answer, you'll recognize that the confirmation is in our faces all the time. People don't know what they're doing. They're unconscious. Or at least they're doing as they're told. They're just doing their job. Their answer is a non-answer, which is unconscious. It's also disempowering to be in that position, to be doing something in your life and not really know why, not really have the answers, and just go, oh, I'm doing it. The law is choice. It is always in our interest. We will never, ever lose the ability to choose. We have to create the opportunity of choice. And we have to recognize what is responsible for the choices. When we do that, like a virus, truth will spread. And as we become more connected, the answers will arrive, the solutions will arrive from our newfound sense of energy. There's so many tricks. There's so much smoke and mirrors. There's so many illusions. It's not for you to take what I'm saying as gospel. It's for it to hit certain points in yourself and for you to respond accordingly in the way that feels right to you with the same formulas and laws. That's the one undeniable thing that I will be able to communicate and express, is the fundamental laws that we cannot escape. If I stick a knife into my eye, it's going to cause damage. It's because it's governed by the law of the universe. So are we. We are not governed by anyone or any external corporation, especially dead entities, which they all are. The corporation of the United Kingdom isn't a country, it's a corporation, it's a dead entity. The Queen isn't, there's no real government, there's no real royal family or what you would call a monarchy or whatever that language is. It's us on our own out here doing what we think is best. And most people are not thinking for themselves, so they're doing what someone else thinks is best. This is something I could talk about for days, in which I won't. I want to leave it here. Empowerment is an antidote. And empowerment doesn't require running up hills or any strenuous physical activity. You can become empowered moving nothing, being in stillness. To really understand this more, you'll have to find the resources of what I'm talking about, or speak to people that are living this. Speak to me. I am living this. I am here. This is my purpose. I'm understanding this more and more each day, and I am an embodiment of my beliefs. And I stand for my sovereignty, and I deal accordingly with all the resistance that comes my way. Because really it's a universal opportunity for me to grow, and it's what I've asked for. So I get what I deserve. If in any way, shape or form this video was useful, you took some knowledge from it, it sparked a thought in you, maybe it triggered you, message me, reach out to me. I work with people individually, one-on-one, and we really start to dig into experiences subject to each individual, but we can really learn about this stuff. But if that's not your thing, check out my links. I'm getting organized. I am forming Discord groups, Telegram groups, places where I have got the paper trail, which is all the links and references to the videos or the resources that I find are the most simplified, best versions to start to expose you to a new world of information. One of them being that masks are bullshit and they don't work. They don't do anything. They're actually more dangerous and more hindering to the human immune system, to health, to any form of health. A mask is terrible. You can look at the resources on that. You can look at the resources on your straw man. You can look at people having successful interactions with the police in their attempts to arrest people unlawfully. You'll understand the difference between legal, which is the maritime law world, which I talk about, is all attached to the title, the dead entity. There's so many people that understand this now, that are expressing this. We're governed by laws of the universe, natural law, law of the land. And once we're empowered with the information, we can actually interact with the world with this newfound information. You'll find access to healing groups where I've got archives of documentaries, video series on powerful ways to heal through cannabis, powerful ways to heal through spirituality, getting connected, meditating, stillness, retreats. And I'm constantly building on these groups. You'll see in the paper trail, you'll see my personal interactions with credit card companies or DVLA tax fines that can't touch me, that they're trying to deal with my dead entity, that I will not provide joinder with because that's not me, so they can't really do anything. But my honor, to honor what I'm already involved with without my consent or my understanding, I'm going to honor that by providing a level of conditional acceptance. I'll accept to pay your fine, for example. I'll accept to pay this credit card back, right, for example. on the conditions that you can provide me the proof and evidence that there was anything actually lost. So show me the actual accounting that anything was actually given to me. Show me the full disclosure that I should have had before signing up to this deal that would have actually revealed to me that any so-called money that you're giving me for a credit card or a mortgage never existed. So you're charging me not only the price of this imaginary money that's been put onto a screen, you are charging me interest on it, and the only way that I can pay that back is with my real time and energy and my slave labor. There's about 5 questions I tend to ask. There's 2. But the point is they don't have answers for them, and we're non-disputing. I'm not disputing. I'm not saying, oh, I'm not paying it. I'm not disputing it, which means it can't go to court. A court's there to deal with disputes. I'm not going to go to court because I'm not going to sign up to be that person, that dead entity that they want me to claim myself as. What I'm going to do is communicate. Conditional agreement. Cool. Prove to me this one. No, I'll pay. I'll pay. Can you provide me this? No, you can't. And if they continue to push, we can dissent. And what we can actually do is go, you're committing real crimes right now. Actual crimes. Cause no harm, loss or injury to anyone else is essentially the only laws that we need to abide. Stay honourable in your contracts and your dealings. It sounds to me that that's dishonouring and dishonest to not provide me full disclosure, to scam me into a scandal of a entire monetary and financial system that's backed by nothing. When we get to this level, what people perceive as confidence, which is really not giving a fuck anymore, because we realize no one gives a fuck about us. Why are we feeling bad about us? Not only do they not give a fuck about us, they're trying to fuck us for everything we're worth, and they're trying to force us into this way of living where we become slaves to their system, and then we, like good boys and girls, pay back the money that never existed anyway and continues to support and perpetuate a debt slave-based system that funds the activities of criminals that are pedophiles, that are like absolutely psychotic beings, and it's enforced by unconscious people. I don't want any part of that system. I didn't sign up for that. My parents signed my birth certificate. Didn't get consent from me. This is what we should have been taught in school. This is what we should really be learning, because it's empowering. The links will be there in the video wherever I upload this, if I do. The links are there. Check out the groups. Message me. Reach out. We need people. We need community. We need unity. We need people to come together that are on the same level and frequency, because when we learn to stick together and we all have the same vision in mind, the amplification of the results are incredible. For now, I hope you've taken something from this video. Good luck.